Before we begin, I would like to address the elephant in the room, which is the fact that I haven't uploaded a lot lately. I was actually planning on making a video about this topic and more soon, and I have the entire video scripted on paper. I just haven't recorded it yet, and of course, this instance happened, Game of the Year happened, and I decided I'd make a video about that first. So, later this month, I will be explaining on my channel why I've been gone, what I've been doing, and what my plan is for the future. But for now, let's just talk about some video games. So, if you did not watch the Game Awards last night, you missed out on a really good session of just awards and music and game releases. And oh boy, was it exciting. However, going into the Game Awards, there was a lot of question as to who would win what topics. And the biggest one was who would win Game of the Year, of which there were three main choices, I would argue. Those being PUBG, Super Mario Odyssey, and Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild. The big question was, who should win Game of the Year? And I, like many people, thought it should be one of the two Nintendo games. Meanwhile, much of the PC gaming community, of which I'm a part of, thought it should be PUBG. Now, like I said, I am part of the PC gaming community. I know a lot about PUBG. I have PUBG, but I did not see why it deserved to be Game of the Year. Yes, of the 5 options, PUBG has the most sales. Of the 5 options, PUBG has arguably the most concurrent players. But that's not what makes up Game of the Year. Game of the Year is so much more than just who can sell the most games. Yes, that helps in getting a good game and making a good game, but it isn't all that goes into a good game. I mean, for Christ's sake, people weren't even taking into account music, of which this game has beautiful, beautiful music. I can't put it in the video because I'll get a copyright strike, but this game has gorgeous music. Art style has to be taken into account as well, and just look at this. Gameplay is a huge thing, which I think PUBG definitely fails at. It's an early access, super buggy game that definitely does not deserve the title of best gameplay of the year. You got to think about game layout. PUBG has one map. I think they just released a second one. Meanwhile, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild has the biggest map of the year. By that I mean, of all the games released in 2017, Legend of Zelda had the biggest overall world map. And once you start taking into account all these little factors and all these things that go into making a game and playing a game, other than just pure sales, which is about the only thing PUBG had over Zelda Breath of the Wild, I think it's almost logical and almost just common sense to see that this game definitely deserved Game of the Year. And I say that like it lost, which it didn't. I mean, as you can tell by the title, Zelda won Game of the Year 2017. But the reason I say that so negatively is because going into this, I was a pessimist. I genuinely thought PUBG was going to win just by the fan vote alone. Admittedly, it has a huge fan base, and I expected their fan base to show up in huge numbers to vote for PUBG. And honestly, I think they did. The Academy, however, outvoted them for Breath of the Wild. And thank God for the Academy, because without them, I don't know where we'd be right now. But part of me is just so excited and so happy that Zelda won Game of the Year, because it's Nintendo's first ever Game of the Year title. And yes, recently, before 2017, I should say, Nintendo had some struggles with their video games. I can only name a few games in the last 5 years before Breath of the Wild came out that were really, really good by Nintendo. But Breath of the Wild broke that mold. It finally broke the curse of Nintendo making subpar games. And with Breath of the Wild came a whole new experience in the realm of Zelda and into the realm of video games. Admittedly, when Zelda first came out, I wasn't like that ecstatic about it when I first started playing. But slowly and slowly, as I played more of it, it just slowly and slowly became closer to my heart. And I eventually, by the end of playing this game, considered it the best game I've ever played. And it is still, in my opinion, the best game I've ever played. Which, for me, is a big title because previously, the best game I had ever played came out in like 2010, which means for like 7 years, it was the same game. For 7 years, I just wasn't really changed much. I wasn't, static to a great extent about video games. And then this one came around. Another huge thing Zelda did was expand its player base. In the past, Zelda was really only played by Nintendo fans. I saw a great number of people, a huge number of people, playing Zelda that have never played a Zelda game before. And that's really awesome for a game that in the past had really only had a specific niche. So overall, my final thoughts are, thank God PUBG didn't win. It didn't deserve it. And just thank God Zelda won, because Nintendo deserved it, Zelda deserved it, and I think the players deserved it. People like myself who overall just love this game are so happy and are going to remain so happy that this game won Game of the Year for really now until forevermore. It's not a title that can just be removed. I mean, obviously next year a game will win, but 2017 Game of the Year will forever be Zelda, and that feels so good. Yes, PUBG is a good game, but Zelda's a great game, and this has been a great year for gaming.